Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. As usual, that's what we say. That's what we hope. That's what you do, because you are the ones that make this show what this show is all about, which is about us all in La República de los Estados Unidos, in the United States of America. Anyhow, today we are going to talk a little bit about the gun issue again. We're going to talk a little bit about employment, and we're going to talk mostly about whatever it is that you want to talk about, that you bring up in the chat. But before I even get started, before I start welcoming people, before I start doing all these things, I want to ask a question. Depending on what occurs and what I decide to do at KPFT, I want to know if you guys want an interactive program as well, the way we do it with telephones at KPFT. I think I asked these questions in several different ways before. I want to do it again because it's going to require me to go ahead and make a few purchases to take care of that. So I want to make sure that as we increase our wattage, if you will, that more people would call into this new number if we so go ahead and invest. So give me your thoughts. I would be interesado. If you're too shy to say it here, you can always say it by sending me an email to info@politicsdoneright.com. Last night was a great night. We saw 5 of the 7 potential Houston mayors. I went ahead and did that. It is going for the 3 to 4 show that we're talking about, running. So no. There's no talk about me changing this time at all. You are the PDR posse. Remember that. Everything else that isn't the PDR posse is around the PDR posse. So if you guys decided that you wanted the time change as a collective, that's what we would do. But right now, if you notice when we did the extra shows at KPFT, we made sure after you guys voted, remember that's what it was all about. After you guys voted, it meant doing more shows, but we stayed right here at 3 Central, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. So no, this is your show, guys, and I really mean that. The only way I would do something that with timing is if for some reason I just had to do that, and I don't foresee that at this time. I'm trying to find a video that I did that I'm going to be including. Okay, all right, estamos aquí. Anyhow, let's see. Welcome aboard, Michael Rotnan. Welcome aboard. Who else is here with us? Welcome aboard, May Wood. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes. Welcome aboard, Bridge MCP. Welcome aboard, Wide Awake. You're woke. You're wide awake. You're woke. Also with us this afternoon is the one and only John Cotter. That is our local hero that I would wish to see someday, either in the state Senate, the House of Representatives, or represented us, I don't know, maybe in Washington, like our good friend in Dallas finally bit the bullet and did. That would be great. I like when there are great people out there, great young folk out there doing the job and getting it done. So, hey, John, kind of a message here. I think Congressman John, Senator John, all that kind of stuff sounds good. And that goes for you too, Mr. Rudnin. We need to get some of the posses out there. Paul Fleming, interested in running? Out there doing some stuff, right? It was great seeing all the wonderful Democrats out there when we actually went and had that forum. As usual, Jaime Rodriguez, political consultant, was excellent in his questioning. All I said when I was out there is, ha, 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 ha. I don't want that guy questioning me. Don't interviewing me, because he really asks some difficult questions that, I'll give you one. You want to be in politics? Who do you know? Who have you been in touch with? Take out your cell phone. Call one of your political friends right now and tell them you're here and let us talk to them. Wow. but I loved it. Let's see. I hope our Houston mail race goes like Chicago. I hear you, buddy. I hear you. El Progresista. I think so. Can happen. Anyway, let me get started. Let me see first if I got to get anybody. Melanie Keelan, late, but here. You're not late, beautiful. You're not late at all. And that's Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Anyhow, let's get busy. Michael Rodney says, just got home, was helping my 101-year-old uncle. Oh, you're from Long Livers. Uncle installed mosquito-proofing screens to his apartment window tops. The chair was standing on broke right under me, and I fell and somehow landed feet first. Yes, I'm fine. Feels like there's a D&D joke about rolling a natural 20 on an acrobatic balance. Check in there. Are you starting to have a propensity to fall, my dear brother? I know, you just kind of felt, hey, I didn't know you had all those mosquitoes up. I hope you're talking about an apartment on the floor level. I hope the mosquitoes don't fly up to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th levels out there. Anyhow, because, we got some powerful mosquitoes here in Houston. Anyhow, from Common Dreams, world's 60th largest banks have dumped $5.5 trillion into fossil fuels since Paris Accord. Since 2016, the year the Paris Agreement took effect, the world's 60 largest private banks have provided $5.5 trillion in financing to the fossil fuel industry. Contravening their pledges to put themselves and their clients on a path to net zero greenhouse emissions as the window to avert the worst effects of the climate crisis rapidly closes. In 2022 alone, the world's biggest private sector banks still finance coal, oil, and gas to the tune of $673 billion, the report notes, even as the fossil fuel industry raked in a record $4 trillion in profits in Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which sent energy prices soaring. I'm going to pause right there. It drives me crazy, my dear brothers and sisters, for us to continue to buy, including Common Dreams. I hope that's a quote. I hope that is a quote and not Common Dreams saying that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is really responsible for the price of oil that we are paying in the United States. Because yes, they had shortage of gas as the pipeline was shut down in that area, but there was ample supply just distributed incorrectly. But it should not have affected the pricing in the United States. It affected the pricing in the United States because they could use that as an excuse. As long as we continue to tell the American citizenry that the reason our prices are high is because of a supply chain problem, it's because of a because of Russia invading Ukraine. As we continue to put that into the psyche of people, they become accepting of those ideas, accepting of the lies, even as they see when they turn to CNBC and they watch Wall Street with the profits going through the roof, while it is your money they're profiting from. This is not monies going to these things, and there was never a shortage. I asked everybody I've been asking for over 13 months. How long have I been back in Houston? From the time that I was in DC to back, more than 18 months. I've been asking everybody, did you ever go to a gas station and not find gasoline? Did you ever go to a gas station and bought less gas? Did you change the consumption of your gasoline that much? Or because we had money in our pockets from several good things that during the pandemic, we didn't spend a lot of money going out to eat. We didn't spend a lot of money on many other things we would have spent on. So we had some extra cash. So the gas bill, as high as it was, we still bought the gas, and they still had the gasoline to supply us. They still had the natural gas to supply us. We never had a shortage. We have to get away from listening and allowing progressive rags to write this stuff, because Americans start to believe it. There was never an oil shortage. There is no oil shortage. Okay, it is very important that we get that. When I said quote, I mean whether it was Common Dreams quoting some other institution or whatever. I didn't mean quote from you, Brother Rudnan. All right. In 2022 alone, the world's biggest private sector banks still finance coal, oil, and gas. I read that already. Sorry. Notably, the banks poured $150 billion into the 100 corporations doing the most to ramp up fossil fuel production worldwide, including TC Energy, Total Energies, Venture Global, ConocoPhillips, and Saudi Aramco. And now Saudi Aramco has taken 1 million barrels off the market to try to increase prices above $80. Of the 60 banks profiled in the analysis, 49 have committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. The value of such promises is questionable, however, because those 49 banks provide 81% of the financing to the 100 fossil fuel expanders. I told you I'm dyslexic. Fossil fuel expanders in 2022. Key areas of growth include oil and gas extraction in the rapidly warming Arctic and the beleaguered Amazon rainforest, offshore drilling, fracking, liquefied natural gas export infrastructure in the U.S. Gulf South, and coal mining and power plants. It is sad because all of that, is true. And like I say all the time, the titans of finance, the masters of capitalism, they don't care about the environment. Let me tell you how they think. They think they can burn all the carbon in the ground. And yes, they don't think they don't believe in climate change. They do believe in climate change. It just doesn't affect them, they think. They believe they can live in their gated communities. They believe they can live in their reinforced homes. They believe all these things can happen. And then what they also believe is that they will make those profits as they pollute the water, as they destroy the ground, as they throw things up into the air. They don't mind doing that and profiting from that because they know they're also going to be paid to clean it up. They are going to be paid to clean it up. They're going to be paid for all the changes. They're going to be paid more when we have to build different structures. They're paid on the way up and on the way down. I wish we would understand what this economic structure is all about. It's all about profiting from absolutely everything. You're dead, you're dying, we profit from your debt. We cause you to get cancer with benzene, we profit from healing you from the cancer. We do all these things that create all these externalities from the product that we created. When asked that, look, yeah, all of us need to burn the oil to survive because we created an oil economy before all these things were known by the masses. So we understand that. But none of that is priced into the cost of fuel. None of that is priced into the economic system for a pain not affected by the people themselves. Sorry about yapping and ranting on that, but the article from El Señor Rudnan really hit a nerve this afternoon. All right, second article. Rainforest Action Network. New report, Canadian bank RBC, the number one financier of fossil fuels, world's biggest bank, continued to pour billions into fossil fuel expansion. Same article. April Merlot, research and policy manager at Rainforest Action Network, wrote, our window of opportunity for keeping global warming at 1.5 degrees closing fast. It's over, actually. We need a people-centered energy transition now. Profits now are a false economy because we simply cannot afford to continue burning fossil fuels. The cost down the road will be devastating. Fossil fuel companies are the ones dousing the planet in oil, gas, and coal, but big banks hold the matches. Without financing, fossil fuels won't burn. And we could convert. I use this example all of the times. When I fly over every major city, when I fly over every ranch, the one thing I see are hundreds of millions of square meters of roof that are nothing more than power generating stations. People always say there's not enough land to put up enough of these photovoltaic cells to produce electricity. That's not true. Every home is a power generator. Every home. And if we decided to make it policy, then it would occur. But we won't make it policy because the fossil industry would always find a way to convince those that are feeble-minded to think that we just have to burn fossil fuels. We can't start that transition to where we need to be now. And we can. But it takes a will. It takes education. We have to educate our populace to understand this and not allow the right to generate the narrative of cost. And given that America has a sovereign dollar, we can spend ourselves into energy independence away from fossil fuels. We have the ability to do that. All right, let me start reading because I'm running behind. Bridge MCP says the agency is not mandating a certain number of electric cars being sold, but it's setting tighter pollution standards for new cars and trucks with model years 2027 through 2032. In essence, pushing car makers to sell a lot more electric vehicles in order to meet the new emission standards. The standards for emission are based on the size and type of vehicle being built, and the EPA says the companies will have to produce 6 to 7% all electric cars to follow the new rules, but the standards also allow car makers to find other ways to meet the emission rules. You see, we're always catering to the business class. The earth is about to burn to smithereens, but we cater to them. We have to sugarcoat the policies so that they can accept it. All right, you can find a way. We want the standards here. We're not going to make it too tough, but find a way to get there. We think it's going to be electric cars as a standard to get there, but if it can't be electric cars, just go ahead and get 100 miles to the gallon of petrol. My God. When are we going to take away the Lord thy Savior from the corporations and start remembering that it's we who count? When? All right. Wide Awake says hi to everyone. And Eric Hayes says, how embarrassing his handlers won't let him answer softball questions. How much more do you have to watch? You got to explain. I'm not going to go to that Facebook page while I'm doing the program, so you may want to go ahead and give us because it's going to go unlooked at. Bridge MCP says, Michael, it was just announced. See my comment. Let's see what else we got. Eric Hayes says, Whole Foods gone from San Francisco due to all drama and keep workers safe. Coming from leftist news tools. Who cares if Whole Foods goes? Let them go. I tell you what, that is the issue. Oh, we don't want to pay our workers. We'll just shut shop and leave. So get the hell out. You know, we have to start playing hardball with corporations who think we revolve around them as opposed to them providing us a service that we desire. You see, we get it all wrong. When Starbucks says it doesn't want to, well, we'll read that letter a little bit later, but the idea, let me just say this. When Starbucks want to deny unionization, when most of us know that the only way to keep a company honest is to have unions. Yes, you have good bosses here and there, but I don't want to be dependent on somebody's heart. I want to be dependent on the law and on we the people. That's what it's all about. All right, let's see. Tony Busby all the way for mayor needs stability. Yeah, you want a charlatan to be mayor. So be it if you want to, but it's not going to happen in our city. All right, what's happening with the radio show, Egberto? Nothing. They haven't made any of the changes yet, Bridge MCP. But again, like I said, I think you're talking about the radio show on air radio. But if the changes doesn't fit with, commensurate with what our program has brought to the station, right? Why would we want to, stay, right? I mean, and again, so that is sort of the way I interpreted it. It all depends on whether your show, because a lot of you now are actually participants in the program on air now. In other words, we've brought a whole family to the station since we've been back on air, and again, so we want our people respected. All right, let's continue here. Melanie, I just spoke to you. Carl Cox says Key lime cheese case is the best dessert. I love it too, man. Yeah, Egberto, he's on the third floor. How the heck did you guess that? I don't know. I just guessed, man. You know, but are your mosquitoes that powerful that they like to fly up to the third floor, man? Or is it people bringing it on their clothes or something? I don't know. Eric K says, I thought under previous administrations, America would have gotten out with strength and dignity and no one dead. Wishful thinking. Ask Reagan how good that worked for him in, where was it? In Lebanon. Please do. Taliban now are, you know, the problem that we have, right? And I find this more with people on the right, is our historical window is here. History is expansive, but their historical window is right here. And that is why they can feel safe doing so much evil, because they work within that context when there is this context to work with. It's amazing. When, you know, when Eric says something like maybe some great Republican president would be able to move people without being killed. Let's just look at Reagan's 8 years and see how many of our military, one particular incident in Lebanon lost us 200 something people. So please, Eric, expand your historical horizon. It would be helpful, and it makes learning so much better than when you're from a window of ignorance, right? And I say that with love and respect. But ignorance is a word that means you just don't know. All right, let's see what else we got here. By the way, I'm ignorant of a lot of things. But when I'm found to be ignorant, I will tell you, thank you for correcting my ignorance. I have no problem in folks correcting my ignorance. Many of you have already. All right. Thumbs up, peeps. Yeah, please give us those thumbs up. We need those thumbs up on YouTube. Likewise, we need those likes on Facebook. Fossil fuel companies getting rich, which people are being killed by Russia. Yep, John Cotter says, yep, it's pure greed. John Cotter, you're absolutely right. Eric Hayes says, who here is all green, no fossil? There are none of us. It has to be systemic. But I'm not going to repeat that again, because I think you're like those folks that you have to keep repeating everything, my brother. You know, I love you, but you want us to repeat this stuff every time over and over again. Again, it has to be systemic. Egberto, none of that is quote. Feel free to take it up with Common Dreams and author Kenny Stansel. I probably will. All right, no money in the pockets now. Egberto? Nope, my pockets are empty. Michael Rowan says, Egberto, Kenny Stansel wrote about this last month. BP Shell announced they would be diluting their emission reduction targets and expanding fossil fuel production after big oil enjoyed record-breaking profits in 2022 as Russia's invasion of Ukraine disrupted global energy markets and gave firms an excuse to hike prices. Climate scientists have made clear that such decisions are, as the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, actually it's Guterres, I always thought it was Gutierrez, Guterres put it earlier this year. Inconsistent with human survival. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. All right, Egberto, is current administration making any attempt to fill back the reserve he sold off for political reasons? First of all, he didn't sell it off for political. Well, actually, you know what? You're right. He sold it off for political reason. Ideally, let these charlatanes let the price zoom all the way up. And in an economic, let me give economics 101 for a second here. I'm going to talk out of two sides of my mouth. I hate the idea that the increase in gasoline prices are going to hurt the American people because they're going to continue to use their liquid availability of assets, of money, to pay for that higher gas to the oil corporations, right? Ideally, we would get what happened in 1979, right? We stopped using the big cars and all the cars started to become, or not all, a large percentage of the cars started to reduce in size, which means they used a lot less energy. So ideally, when these charlatanes increase the price of oil, we should just stop using it, right? And it would have a dual effect. Remember during the pandemic, what the skies of Beijing looked like, what the skies of Paris looked like. It was clear and blue. Shows you it doesn't take much time for the earth to start healing, right? So ideally that would happen, right? Ideally that would happen. But that's not what happens. And that's why I fight for them not raising the prices, because I understand that America think about energy first, and conservation. Second, because it's such difficulty, because we don't have a systemic form in which to do that. Otherwise, we could. But ideally, when the prices go up, we use less and things would be just fine. And then that would force them to put it down. According to economics now, if they did not rush to drop the prices after a certain point, something known in economics as demand destruction would occur. And when demand destruction occurs, it does not ramp back up to the point it was before. And that is the biggest fear of oil corporations, demand destruction. And what I'm saying is we need to create artificially demand destruction by making that concerted effort where we can to carpool. Let me give an example of what I did. We ran out of paper towels. We only buy our paper towels at Costco because we can buy it in bulk, and buying it at, let's say, H-E-B costs more than buying it at Costco. So what I told the family, look, don't worry about it. Don't go to H-E-B. Don't go buy or spend more money on this thing. And I won't run just to Costco, which is, 20-minute ride back and a 20-minute ride back. I'm not going to just do that to get the paper towels that we need now. Please just use napkins and other things for a couple days. On my way to KPFT, which I have to pass Costco, I will go in, get it, put it in the car, go to KPFT, come back. We'll all be happy with turning a trip that we would have turned into 2 or 3 trips into one. Save me gasoline, save the environment, save me money. We are a convenient society where we kind of don't think that way. We just go out and do things because we are free-loving people. We had electric cars and solar power. We could easily do that without having an adverse effect, right? But I'm trying to teach myself to do those things more often. And I'm trying to convince my wife and daughter to do these things more often. In other words, make one trip serve what you would have maybe gone a place, come home, gone back, a place, come home. We also have those bags in the cars. Every car has it now that can hold cold stuff. So, a lot of times you go to the store, you buy cold stuff and you say, I got to go home to put this up before I go back and do this other shopping, right? Not anymore. We have stuff that we keep in the car, keep it cold. That way that one trip can serve the entire purpose. And if all of us started to do that, we would create what's known as demand destruction. And demand destruction will force the lowering of the price of oil. The question is, will you then change your habits? I think when you learn that your time is valuable, you'll realize that doing things that way is much more efficient. So as it turns out, I spend most of my time behind the screen processing videos and writing blogs, writing my 6th book, right? And when I want to get things, Amazon, bad company, I know, but they're efficient, right? Because their truck are labeled to use the least amount of gas possible when they're delivering. So believe it or not, even the way we shop now, when you have 10 people in one neighborhood that orders their groceries online and you have somebody who picks the groceries and then delivers it, there is one trip that comes that route for delivery of the products, as opposed to 10 different people driving to the store and 10 different people driving back from the store. So there are a lot of efficiencies there, and we can turn a bad company into doing good. So anyhow, that's my spiel. John Carter says they knew about climate change decades ago, but actively worked to mislead the world to continue profiting. We actually showed many of those articles in other earlier shows. Egberto, here's the point of those articles I shared at the start of the show. It's a point that needs to be shared with baby drill conservatives. If fossil fuels corporations were not subsidized, we would have already gotten off the fossil fuels years ago after renewables became what. I think that message came out loud and clear, Brother Rodnin. Loud and clear. Climate criminals who have gotten away with the deaths of millions, all for short-term profit. Yep, fossil fuel industry from Carl Cox. Fossil fuel industry make mega bucks killing people all over the world, including America, from Carl Cox. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, convert your life free of fossils, then tell us how good that worked out. Well, when it's systemic, it'll work out just fine. John Carter said, I'm producing more electricity at my home than I use, and I have an electric car. John is my idol. I can't afford to do what John has done thus far. But let me just give you an issue with this, because here's the deal. John researched the panels, John researched the car and everything, and now he's net neutral, right? All of us given the subsidies, instead of giving these subsidies to oil companies, instead of giving these abatements to corporations, if we invested all those things, and by the way, we could still give all those abatements and still print money to put these solar panels up, right? We could. And guess what it wouldn't do? Guess what it wouldn't do? It wouldn't depreciate our money, because here's what would happen. If we went ahead and reduced everybody's cost, right? Everybody's cost for energy, they will have more money to spend. But there's one other thing that folks don't tell you, and I've been talking about this a long time. We also have more productivity. You only get inflation. I can print as much money as I want, as long as there are the things that I want to buy available. And if there's high efficiency, they will. And by the way, since we buy a lot of services, you'll have more money to get your food delivered. You have more money to eat out. All these things are people-powered things that are us serving each other. They're not inflationary. More restaurants are open because more people are eating out. There are so many things that we could talk about. All right, Rudden wants something on the screen. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen. All right, let's go here. This time I won't forget to throw it on. Surface area required to power the world. With zero carbon emissions and with solar alone. And wow, in other words, amazing. You put it in the Southwest, you put it in Brazil, you put it in Chile. Or is that Chile or Argentina? I think that's Chile. You also put it in India. Yeah, I got you. But they don't want you to know that. By the way, I don't want you guys to see those things as small dots. That's a hell of a lot of surface area. We're talking probably about 0.25% of the Earth if you aggregate all those black spots. That's my guess, 0.25%. Okay, 1980 base and actual use, 207,368 square kilometers. 2030 projection, 496,805 square kilometers. So let's call it 500,000 square kilometers. Not a lot compared to the surface of the Earth at all. And with that, of course, you'd have to have some back-end store. Back-end store meaning batteries, pumps, maybe to throw water up a hill so that when there's no sun, the water runs the turbines, that kind of a stuff. It's all possible if we have the will to do it. Our biggest hindrance from getting this done is capitalism. The government would have to capitalize this, and that we have to beg the private sector to come along the ride. They like to call themselves, they're stakeholders. They're not stakeholders. We are the stakeholders. They're the servants, and we have to remind them that that's the case. All right, Egberto, here's a point I read that already. I put that on the screen for Brother Rudnin. All right, Eric Hayes says, good for you, enjoy, but forcing others not so good. You know what? Forcing others is good if others are poisoning us. In other words, we should not be willfully poisoned. If folks can't see the light, and by them not seeing the light, they poison us, at that point, your actions are affecting me. Remember why I said I want to legalize drugs. People can do drugs in the privacy of their home as long as they're not driving because they can harm me and you and everybody else. As long as they're not doing anything to harm others. I'm for that. But just burning fossil fuel because I can. No. No. All right. Eric says you don't even have the grid infrastructure for you to ramp. We don't have any of this. That's the idea. You have to have the will to get it done. And by the way, if we're going to rebuild the grid, we may consider not throwing a whole lot of that crap overhead, but burying it in long sustainable cables that would last several hundred years. Right? And we can do all of this stuff. But you have to have the will. The problem is our current economic system cannot do that. Our current economic system is not designed to work for the collective good of humanity. That's just the bottom line. And I repeat this, and you guys can use this phrase. The current economic system is not conducive to create a collective society that is needed to work together to alleviate our problems. That's the bottom line. And until we modify the economic system to do that, nothing changes, because you get the terminologies that people use. You know, there's a person that comes to our show all the time that calls me that he attacks me for justifying monetarist. I understand where he's coming from, but he also has to understand where the most people's indoctrination is coming from, and that we are all already indoctrinated. And until then, nothing can change. Bruce Pollard says, last four letters of Starbucks? Bucks. Actually, no, brother. I think you forgot the K. Or isn't Starbucks with a K? Yeah, I think so. Help me out. Deborah Moyer says, hello, Egberto. Bridge, fellow progressives. Welcome aboard, Bridge. Carl Cox says, co-ops are best types of businesses because employees own their own business, make good living, good pay, health insurance, vacation, etc. Yeah, you own something, you believe in it. All right, let's see. It's New York, Egberto. So New York bugs fly, babes. I learned something every day. I'm trying to remember if while I was in New York in August, if I got bit. I was in the middle of a forest in upstate New York. Beautiful. You would never, when you think of New York, you think of concrete city. But upstate New York, all in that Hudson River Valley, man, it's beautiful out there. I took the train all the way to the resort where we had our panel. My God, it's beautiful out there. The Bridge Alliance supported that program. It was really great. As we keep telling you, no one has ever said you have to quit fossil fuels immediately and cold turkey, but we do need to start the transition now. Will take years, perhaps decades, to completely, if ever, replace fossil fuels. We'll always need fossil fuels for things like, we don't even need it for fertilizers if we change our modal. But there are certain things that hydrocarbons are, instead of having to recreate hydrocarbon back into what we want, we can use the hydrocarbons that are already there. Right? All right. Wow. It looks like the show today is going to be mostly you guys. Thank you, because I got locked out of my account today, and I'm still trying to get in. And I spent 3 hours trying to get in and talking to Microsoft, and we're still figuring it out. Anyhow, part of it. Mike Cisak says for EV production, we'd have to up our mining of minerals production tenfold. I agree, which is 1,000% higher than we are now. This is impossible since we already at peak production. No, we're not. Just like they used to tell us we're at peak oil, right? No, we're not. We're not. Let's give an example if we're at peak production. We have 3 million people trying to get into the United States of America right now. I think that's the last count I heard, 3 million. I could be wrong, but let's say it's 3 million. All these people are looking for work. We have enough resources around the world. We have the wherewithal around the world to pay the mining. And by the way, some of those rare earth, as people don't know this, but a lot of that rare earth we have in the northwest, or rather in the southwest. Okay? So no, it's not at all impossible. What we need to do is stop using slave labor to mine it. What we need to do is create a true economy based on the new technology. It's that simple, right? E2247 says international group of students and young professionals to discuss and debate the critical existential threats facing humankind, including nuclear weapons, climate change, and other emerging dangers. Paul Fleming says, please ignore the short busking. All right, let's see what else I got here. Bruce says, first push is to get fossil fuel off the road. Maybe some leader with dollars will do with low-cost nuclear what E. Musk is doing. What is E. Musk doing again? Because I don't see, I'll be honest with you. I don't see Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a great promoter of Elon Musk. But I am yet to see what difference Elon Musk per se is making on any significant scale to the environment or anything else. The big companies, Ford, Ford, and all these other guys, Ford, General Motors, etc., when they decide to come into the market, Musk is toast, and he knows it. That's why he's dropping his prices like a rock. There's nothing that Musk knows or can do with his Tesla that the engineers at General Motors and all these other guys don't already know. I remember when the Ford Volt, is it the Ford Volt or the General Motors Volt? One of them. I tested the Volt at a South by Southwest, and we got it up to 100 and something miles an hour. Wasn't supposed to do it, but we did. This is long before Elon Musk was doing all this stuff, as I recall, or had his good old hybrid out or anything. Well, he didn't have a hybrid. He was always all electric. All right, Bridge MCP is talking okay, Michael runs Egberto, conservative pushing individual responsibility for systemic problems is such a weak bait. Eric Hayes, you're hearing me. You are talking about issues bigger than any person's action. It takes societal change to fix. And what we have is that we don't get critical thinking taught anymore. And when we have that, we get what Michael spoke about, such a weak bait. All right. Vamos a continuar, por favor. Vamos a continuar, por favor. Mike Cisak said, Eric Hayes, you're asking a whole lot there. The left wing doesn't do numbers or reality very well. Remember what I said about the mirror? All right, Mike Cisak, my dear brother. 1, 2, 3. Take down the mirror. All right. Kat Liddon, how are you doing? All good ideas, but we are end users. We can only use what is available. You're absolutely right, Liddon, and that's what Michael Rudnan is talking about. John Carter says Amazon is using electric vans in our neighborhood now for delivery. Yeah. Daniel Edo says demand destruction actually works, but Bud Light just got educated. I'm lost, but it's okay. John does very well. Let's see. Carl Cox says, Mike Cisak, you're wrong. It's right. We can do numbers in reality. Who can't do numbers in reality? All right. Is Bezos less evil now? No, he's still evil. Bezos will always be evil. Good things have come from evil before. Egberto, gas went up 25 cents a gallon. Summer, pricing gouging. It's price gouging. I spoke about that at KPFT yesterday. I really went on a rant yesterday. And I want us to all be ranting about it. Egberto, that's just the surface area required for the solar match their region's demand. It's less than 1% of land's nutrients. That's why I said 0.25%. I thought it looked, my eyeballing it looked like 0.25%. All right, Deborah Moyers is welcoming Bridge. Let's see what else I need to read. I want to play a couple of videos before I go. I'm going to scroll down. I'm passing some of your comments that sort of a little bit. All right, Mike Cisak says, Bridge MCP gas went up because Biden has given the middle finger to OPEC. So they have cut back a lot of oil production, 1 million barrels a day cut. You see what Mike Cisak just said? It's partially true. So, but the converse is also true. He says, Bridge gas went up because Biden gave OPEC the middle finger. So what do you so you guys don't want Biden to be strong with OPEC. You want him to be subservient to OPEC so that they wouldn't cut back production by 1 million barrels a day. See how the converse works? But here's the deal. You're actually saying that you want to be subservient to OPEC. The reality is if we decided OPEC, we don't need OPEC oil. We make enough oil, more than enough oil for ourselves. We are energy independent. But the oil market is global. So we just throw the oil on the market and that's why the prices go We could pass a law that says all oil had to be local if we wanted to, and only excess can be exported. We could say that. We don't. So it's about the oil market not really being free market. It's not really being a capitalist system. It's really a cartel. Because when you purposefully hold back the delivery of something that you have, it's no longer a supply and demand issue. It's no longer market forces. And you guys who like to talk about market forces should really be complaining when a company says, I am going to cut back on production so the prices rise. They do it with diamonds. Like the Bears do it with diamonds out of South Africa. Really, diamonds should not be close to the price that they are, but they control the market. In other words, they decide to not let the market work. Same with oil. Same with a lot of other things. There ain't no market. It's hard to tell you guys that, but maybe one day you will understand. John Carter said Elon is a carnival barker. His company has done much to push EVs forward, but he will not compete with GM, Ford, or VW. If these guys wanted to be the leaders in electrical stuff, they would have been. There's nothing that Elon Musk brought that was new technology. All of that was invented by government dollars already. He just decided, I'm going to make a car before GM because GM is trying to hold off until it's done. The Chevy Volt, that's what it was. Thank you, Paul. All right. Bruce says, if there's nothing he can do that big companies can, why didn't they do it? Because they look at what big companies do, right? This all the time. Big companies let a lot of little companies take the risk and do things and see, is there a market? And if there's a market, then they'll retool and do everything because their engineers have already developed the technology in their R&D departments. I remember working with oil companies, right? I worked with Dresser. And there are a lot of things that we just got working. A bond tool is a good example. But the current bond tools were doing just fine. It would just be the next thing. So no, companies do that all the time. Big companies don't take risks. They let the little company risk and die. And if the little company happen to hit gold, then they buy that company. A couple of people at that little company may get rich. All the workers that built everything go to hell. And GM says, okay, now we can retool and do what we already know how to do. I mean, it's that simple, man. All right, let's see what else we got here. Egberto, this one from Carl Cox needs to be read out in full. Mike Cizek, you're wrong. It's the right who can't do the numbers and reality example. Biden has more votes and wins the presidency over Trump. Right can't do arithmetic and think fascist Trump won. Well, you see, it's a bit deeper than that. They believe to make their numbers work, they believe there was fraud. You can't, they keep changing, they keep moving the goalposts. John Carter said, check out the new Climate War by Michael E. Mann if you want to learn how the right and fossil fuel companies have lied about climate change. All right. There are no more Chevy Volts as they are a disaster. Oh, my God. Do some research. Oh, my God. They were prime early days. Anyway, all the problems we've had with guns over the last few, right? And you know what it turns out? My congressman, Dan Crenshaw, has the solution. He has the solution that's going to solve the problem about schools getting shut up and our innocent babies getting killed. And here is his solution.
Of 2 armed guards or police officers at every single school in America, you'd probably prevent these from here on out.
Well, you said
that's the truth.
You said that they're random. The one through line in these deaths is that they are shootings, therefore they are done by guns. And guns are the leading cause of death for children and teens in the U.S. So shouldn't helping save the lives of children be a top priority for you as a member of the House majority?
No, it absolutely should be, which is why I say I would look to the thing that would absolutely stop this, which is putting armed police officers at every school. I visit a lot of schools. I do talks at various schools. It's very rare that I go into a school, especially the newer ones, and they don't have some kind of armed police presence there at all times. So that's a preventive measure. That I know will stop this. And there was nothing like that in these last few mass shootings. There's no armed guards there.
So the answer is
if I'm just looking for
guns.
actual solutions, that would be it.
So the answer is more guns.
No, the answer is armed guards. No, the answer is armed guards, right? Armed guards, yes, more guns. The kind of guns that protect the president, that protect you all at CNN. Is it easy to get into your headquarters at CNN? Absolutely not. There's armed guards there. Yeah. There's single points of entry. I think we should look at our schools as a place that is precious and have the same kind of security that your corporate offices do, that we do in Congress. You know, if we consider a place to be important where our children go to learn every day, it should have the same level of security as every other place, whether it's a shopping mall or a corporate office that's hard to get into. You know, you're not going to get rid of guns. And I'm not going to say that people can no longer, that law-abiding citizens cannot defend themselves anymore and exercise their Second Amendment rights and think that's going to stop mass violence. People will figure out other ways to commit mass violence once they've unfortunately reached that point in their life. It's tragic and it's sad, and a lot of people, we don't understand what's happening, what's inside their heads, and so we look to these other solutions that I think aren't viable.
There were supposed to be armed guards at the schools in both Uvalde, in your home state of Texas, and Parkland, and that didn't help anything.
Again, she nails him. All these other schools had armed guards. That didn't help a damn thing. And in fact, the one in Florida, the armed guard ran. Why? Because he was confronted by AR-15. In the case of Uvalde, they ran. Why? Because they were confronted by AR-15. We can, if we want to, take weapons of wars off and make them illegal. Yes, we can do that. There's nothing in the Bill of Rights that says we need to allow people to own a bazooka. Under their contention, we could ask everybody to own a tank if they want to own a tank. The stupidity that comes out of the mouth of these guys, and Michael Rudnin, exactly right. The stupidity that comes out of their mouth to protect an industry is simply astounding. It's simply astounding. So when you have a party that thinks like this, Crenshaw is one, but there's another person. There is another representative who is even worse than Crenshaw because, in effect, he says, there's not a damn thing that can get done. Check this out.
It's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals, and my daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
What should be done to protect people like your little girl from being safe at school?
Well, we homeschool her, but you know, that's our decision. Some people don't have that option, and frankly, some people don't need to do it. I mean, they don't have to. It just suited our needs much better.
Well, you know, if somebody wants to blow up our country, they're going to do it anyway. So why have a military? Just let them blow us up. You know, I mean, it's all right. Why? I mean, if they want to hurt us, they're going to hurt. My God. And you know what's the worst part about this? So many right wingers buy into the indoctrination that the NRA and the manufacturers of guns have taught them to think. So now it's in their psyche, and to them that sounds okay. To them that sounds like truth. But what we have to do is disregard them. We just have to make the place safer. Disregard the naysayers. Disregards those whose minds have been indoctrinated. But let's save our people. Let's see. Michael Ronan says, this thought Dan Crenshaw is pushing is to turn schools into jails, armed guards, single points of entry, exit, security clampdown. That's not a damn school. There are no places of there are not places of learning. The problem is that we have too many guns in the country, and some of those guns get into the wrong people's hands. And Robert Davenport says, who is going to pay for this new multi-thousand number armed force in America? Tax and spend Republicans down. Look, it's funny. They want to spend all this money so that people can have weapons of war. Alistair Waters, welcome. She says, I want access to nuclear weapons. It's my Second Amendment right. Damn it. That's how silly they are for real, my dear Alistair. And E2247, after 2 years of absence, Mike Prisner hit anti-war military podcast returns. Thanks for letting us know. Bruce Pollard says, lump the school shootings in with the bigger portion of gun deaths and solve it from there. Absolutely so. Can't disagree with that. Kat Lighton says, and it anger and despair, hopelessness, and the feeling of angry victimhood. This has been pushed by media and the politics of political again. You're absolutely right. Oh, Egberto, thanks for making my point. No, I didn't make your point. You keep looking in a mirror. John Carter said, I keep asking Dan to get me an F-16. So far, no luck. Exactly. You get it. Mike Cisak, the problem is the mentally ill. Leftists know the problem is the mentally ill others. Peggy Lopez says, turning schools into jails will make the population easier to control. Hey, guys, if you are on our YouTube right now, and if you have the wherewithal, I ask you so kindly, hit that join button, become a part of our PDR posse on YouTube. Help us continue doing what we're doing. We simply cannot do this without you. Alternatively, you can support us by supporting us on PayPal by going to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. Trust me, all this stuff that we're doing, we do it for you on the cheap. We do it for us on the cheap. Why? Because we have to have more of this. I'm working with a new person. It looks like I'm going to collaborate on the Spanish news channel that we're putting together, but we need your support for all these things that's doing good. We figure we're going to need the Latino vote to really bring the Latino vote into the fold. So we're going to be working on that. We're trying hard. politicsdoneright.com/patron. Patron is spelled Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/patron. Please consider becoming a patron as well. Of course, on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, you can still become a member of YouTube by going to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/Facebook to become a member on Facebook, or you can go to politicsdoneright.com/support. It has all the different forms in which you can support the program. I thank you so kindly for being here with Politics Done Right. We cannot do this without you. Thank you so kindly. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I am going to end this baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.